All right. We're going to kick off our interview here. My name is Josh Dillard, and this is my site supervisor. This is for my practicum semester for Georgia Southern, and we'll start the interview off pretty simple. And I would love for you to introduce yourself and tell me what your title is.
I am Lindsay Brouillard, and I am a new instructional technology specialist with Oconee County Schools.
Awesome. For your job, Ms. Brouillard, what degrees are required for your position?
Technically, a bachelor's degree is required, but they do want you to have 4 years of experience in the classroom. A master's degree is like, ooh, great, let's do that, or above is absolutely a selling point. And then if you've got certifications, that's additional clout that you can use.
Absolutely. In asking that, what degrees do you hold?
I have a bachelor's in English, I have a master's in post-secondary education, and I have a specialist in learning design and technology.
Awesome. So kind of side question here. So you did spend some time in the classroom. What did that look like for you?
I taught English language arts. I started out in high school, did 10 years in high school at various schools in Gwinnett County. And then I moved to Oconee and have taught 6 years full years in the classroom, English language arts in middle school before moving to this position.
Awesome. Awesome.
Sorry.
What are your day-to-day job responsibilities in this role? Into the
day-to-day, I support the use of technology in the classroom for instructional use. So anything that touches learning or tools for learning in the classroom is something that I am troubleshooting, training, collaborating, and helping out with. So that might involve like user experience, or it might also involve like the actual technical side of things. So like the data syncing and like setting up the programs and making sure that users are logging in or can function within the programs. So that's kind of what I do on a daily basis. It's a lot of troubleshooting, a lot of like putting little fires out here and there, talking to companies, putting tickets in and trying to get things resolved. But it's a fast-paced, very fun job.
So your job is somewhat unique in that you serve a couple of locations. How many, in a roundabout guess, how many people would you say you supervise or are above, or people come to you for technology assistance?
I think it's roughly, I think there's about 90 to 100 faculty staff at each of my schools, and I serve 2 schools. So I have a middle school and a high school, and so probably about 200 faculty staff that could potentially need me. Yeah.
This is kind of a hot button item in our own county, in our district. And it's in terms of our learning management system. We had a big change.
Yep.
And with your job change starting out this year to help us with technology, how has that transition been from our old learning management system of its learning to Canvas? How's that been so far?
I feel like for us rolling out as quickly as we are, we're doing a pretty good job as beginners in this program. We had a pretty good lead in with our former program. Although it didn't function the way we wanted it to, but I think some of the things we did in there prepared us to be successful in Canvas. I do think that helping teachers to see the little successes that they have on a daily basis is really important, and so I've really tried to focus in on that, and then offering really good, engaging, efficient, time valuing learning opportunities that take into account the fact that a lot of educators want to be able to take direction back to their classroom and then see how it's going to work for them and their process and the flow for their learning. So just trying to be a coach and not just like a trainer. Like I want to coach you through those, and I want to celebrate with you and then help problem solve with you as you go through it. And so I feel like that has been a positive for me, is that I'm establishing those relationships and helping teachers to see what this could be in their classroom. So that's kind of where I am.
It's been a good change. All change can have challenges, and I know that on the technology side that can be difficult, but I think we're navigating well. So day to day, Tell me, what's a day look like for you, whether it be at the middle school or the high school
Mhm.
or at the tech barn? What does a day look
Mhm.
like for you?
Most days, so I spend 2 days at the middle school, 2 days at the high school during the week. And that could be, getting here and figuring out, teachers are allowed to set appointments with me. So I've set up little 30-minute time slots, and they can book those with me. And so some days those are like I go appointment to appointment. I really try to walk around my buildings and just be available and just drop in and say, hey, how you doing? And catch up on things, and try not to always talk about technology. But I try to make myself visible and accessible, whenever I am in the building. If it's a training week, one of those days is spent like today. I had 4 sessions of training, hour-long trainings, generally 45 minutes to an hour long, where we focus on a chunk, a little piece of what we're learning and how that can be used in the classroom, and getting that how to out to the teachers so that they can start using it. I do a lot of questions and answering in that, and then I usually let them stay after and ask questions if they need to, just individual questions. And so like this week is a heavy training week, so I have 2 trainings, and so we'll spend a lot of time together this week. Some weeks is super quiet. So like I don't have any appointments. And so I sit and I work on my next training, or I'm working on following up with tickets. We have a ticketing system. So if teachers are putting in help desk tickets with certain things like integrations or YouTube videos that are needing to be
That's right.
unblocked, or things that I can help them with in that way, then I spend some time with that. And then there's little side projects and things that admin have asked me to do, or that I'm helping a teacher do this with their course, or, talking to somebody about, Remind or whatever it is that we're doing.
Sure.
It's different every day. I mean, very different every day.
One
So,
thing I like, even though you serve a couple schools and you're in and out of different buildings, you're accessible, whether it be digitally, or knowing that, hey, she'll be here tomorrow,
mhm,
making your rounds. So that's been super helpful. And I know it can maybe feel a little bit stretched being 2 locations, but
mhm.
it seems seamless. So either,
Well, that's
things
good.
work. That's good. That's exactly
Sometimes
right.
it feels like it's very hard to be here and have
Yeah,
something go on at the high school, and trying to figure out how to triage that from
yeah,
remote can be challenging. So,
for sure.
mhm,
Well, a little bit of a different topic here, dealing
mhm,
with our budget.
mhm.
Do you have control over technology budgets, or what kind of, I guess, input do you have on money, might I ask?
I don't have a lot of input on overall budget. Um, my role is more bringing the knowledge of the elements. So I'd say mine is more school-based. So like if a school is trying to decide on buying licenses for a program, or buying a certain application, or investing their own school-based budget, then I can help talk through like, what are we getting with those licenses? How does that integrate with the current technology we have in place? Like per student cost, is this the most valuable,
Mhm.
the most value we can get for what we're looking for? And so I can really help like bring all the ideas to the table and say, here's what we can look at. If we're going to do this, I'm going to need these things. But then the school ultimately makes their decision based on their needs. At the district level, I don't think it's much different than that. I think the district is just functions a little bit more like rigidly on how those things must be approved along the way. But we typically demo items, like as a team we'll demo items. I think there's like certain bids and processes that with that kind of stuff. But as far as the district money goes, I'm not real clear on how all of that sort of shakes out. I do know that they have teacher input on a lot of things. And so there's like a teacher technology advisory committee I was on for years. And so not that any of that comes down, but if they're listening to what schools need. And if it's something the whole district will benefit from,
Yeah,
then that's where those bigger decisions, like an LMS per se, that's a district
sure.
level decision, right?
Mhm.
Versus like having a specific ELA or math application.
Yeah.
So, there's applications bought at the district level that are district wide, and then there's applications and programs that are bought at schools, different schools, depending on their needs. But how that gets allotted and figured out, I don't know.
Gotcha. Circling back to kind of job and success stories, have you had any types of, I guess you could say, a success story of technology implementation, or have you seen something where you felt like, hey, this worked, or this has been really, really good, whether it be with teachers or students? What's like a success story you've seen with the impact of technology?
In Oconee, I came in with a passion in technology. So technology has always sort of been this underlying theme, this underlying current within my teaching. I was an early adopter back when like Google was just coming on for education. I'm a Google certified innovator, which means that I've gone through that whole process. And so coming here, I really wanted to make that something that I did kind of just as something that I wanted to pursue. I made sure that whenever things came up, I was involved. I got as involved as I could. And I feel like when I was on committees, I was always able to make some kind of implementation that made things better by pulling in a tool or streamlining the workflow or something like that. And then helping those people that I was on the committee with certain things. So I made myself available and made myself sort of like pegged myself as the person to go to. And as a peer, that was really easy to then begin helping people. And then I feel like my success was really in just that grassroots, like, this is something I'm passionate about, let me help you. And that became something in my building. It didn't have to be forced. It was just a natural fit. And so I found my people that were also my little tech geeks, and we geek out about things, and we try new things, and we do cross collaborate. So it became this sort of light in an otherwise, you get in the grind and you're just like grinding through. But it became like, this is the fun stuff. This is where we get to play. And I feel like that was a real positive and when I was here in the middle school. Awesome. I know that's not a big, like, huge implementation, but sometimes it's the little things and the consistent things and the, like, not flashy. It's just what you do consistently that makes more of an impact than, hey, look at this new shiny thing that we can throw out there. But consistency and proven strategies and things like that, I think are go further sometimes.
And your willingness to try that as a teacher and try different tools or whatever, I think probably helps out in your day-to-day now, being that, you're the one where people are going to ask, and you're the one who, if it's been tried, I bet Ms. Brouillard has tried it. So that's great. So I want to circle back. You said you were a part of a committee, a technology committee. Tell me about that committee. How many, if you had to guess, how many people might have been on that? Would y'all make any decisions from that committee?
So the district has a teacher technology advisory committee. There's one or two teachers, I think, like a teacher and then like a just in case teacher if the things couldn't be there, for each of the schools that either volunteered or your admin would say you're going to this thing. And we got to meet once a month. And I think it was on there for like 3 years. And we met once a month, and we got to hear what was going on. So on all elements of technology. So one meeting I might be talking about servers and how North Oconee is wired. And we'd go into the closets and like look at all these servers and talk about the processes of these and what it takes to keep them running and like when the updates are coming and all of that. And so we knew all that. And then the next day we would be talking about an LMS or talking about privacy law or talking about the approval process for things. So we really got to listen into the inner workings of technology department and like the things that they care about and those big things that sort of drive technology in the district. But then also we got to sort of weigh in on how our teachers might perceive certain things. So as things came out, like when we went to Microsoft and we went away from a Novell and we went to Microsoft, like what's that going to look like? We got to be at the sounding board of that beforehand, and then got to bring any concerns or, questions or, apprehensions we had about it. And we brought those up so that when we did roll out, we were able to address those as they came out. But it was really neat because I got to see all elements. I got to figure out, okay, well, how is internet run in this district? Well, I know that it's like a wheel. And like, I know if this school goes out, these other schools are going to go out. But that's not something every teacher gets to be a part of. We got to do little demo slams each time. We had to do one of those. We got to like pick out applications and look into the FERPA and COPA elements with those. And so it was a lot of fun to do that. And because I was on that, I also got to sit on the focus group for the LMS decision making. So I got to get an account for both of those while we were in those systems. And I got to weigh in on that as an English teacher and as a leader of technology for my building. So it's opened a lot of doors, I would say. But it's a neat little thing to get involved in, and it gets you in front of people who are also tech savvy, who have the best interest of your district in mind. So it's kind of fun.
That is great. And I know it's not every district that has one. And I think it's cool to have, you're a stakeholder as a teacher. I think it's cool to have a say and at least get to, with our discussion on committees. But
Yes.
Beyond that, how would you say decisions are made at the district level? Technology.
I feel like this is my perception of how things are made, decided, but I think that they entertain or explore the options, and then they figure out, they're going to get a demo so they can see each one against each other. They vet the different things that we're looking for, and then once they've sort of narrowed down to a couple of decisions, and I feel like this is how they did it with the LMS, was they then put together a team of teachers and ITS and faculty, and it was a bunch of different people in that room with us. And we went through we got to sit in on video demos with the company for both programs. We got to ask questions. We got to write down our questions. We got to submit whatever we needed to ask. And then we got to we met twice to discuss our how those went and ask any additional questions. ITS were involved in actually developing some things with that, so they could show us, like, this is what the course might look like. These are some of the elements or items that you can create and how it works all together. And then we got to make sort of we voted kind of what we felt like was our choice. And then the district took that back and took that under consideration as they made their final decision. And then at that point, I believe the directors and the board and all of that has to be involved in approving it, because it's the money element and all of that comes into it. And then, directors make a decision on rollout and what that time frame is going to look like. And then allotting for resources beyond that. I do feel like we are often involved. So teachers and staff are often involved in some way to make some of those decisions. But then it's a logistical thing beyond that, right? Up at the higher level.
Yeah.
Hold on.
End of the day. All right, here's the fun part.
Yeah.
Twofold. We'll start with the best part of your job. What is it? Best part of your job?
Best part of my job is the challenge of taking someone from not knowing to knowing. And I've loved that from day one. And I think that's that's what I've always loved about teaching. But I really enjoy working with adults. There's something different about adults than there is with kids. And I feel like I can connect real well with adults. And I love how it's fast. This job is fast paced. It's problem solving. It's design thinking. It's innovative. It's collaborative. It's all the things that make up like my spirit and who I am.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And it just keeps me learning and growing as an educator, because I'm still an educator. I'm just coaching, but I'm educating adults, and my impact is so much broader now than it ever was as a classroom teacher. And so that's the exciting part of being in this position.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Not to be a Debbie Downer, but most challenging. What is the most challenging part of your role?
So challenging, I would say showing people or helping people see what could be.
Yeah.
Instead of always reverting to the way we've always done things. And trying to like, I mean, educators we're set in our ways. Like, we find our way, and that's our way. And by golly, we're going to do it for 30 years, and that's done. But everything that I've ever learned has said that you can have 30 years of teaching that are all the same, or you can have 30 different years of teaching, right? And so, like, I never had a year that I did the same thing as I did the year before. And to think that efficiency and being effective, you have to try new things. You have to branch out. You have to say, well, what if I did this? And what if it worked out? Like, what could be? And so I've always really, and that's challenging. I mean, that's really challenging, especially for teachers that have been in it for a while, that are veteran teachers. That are on, they're in the sunset of their career, and they're having this new LMS come out. Like, really? Like, we're going to do stuff now. And so just helping them see the little ways that they can change. Yeah. And it being this, and it being effective, and the kids responding to it, and the outcomes being positive. And, but it's that changing of their mind, is that flicker of hope. It's that, let's just try.
Yeah, try it. Show them the benefits. I promise.
The worst that could happen is you done work,
That's right. So. Sure. Well, I think the good outweighs the bad, which is important for any job, whether it be teaching or technology, whatever it may be.
For sure.
Kind of wrapping this all up, and just thinking on my own scale here, what tips or recommendations do you have for someone who is aspired to be an instructional technology specialist? Is there anything that you might say, hey, do this, don't do that, things of that nature?
I would say take initiative. Begin to find ways that you can support people in micro moments. So the people, your neighbors, your department, your colleagues, the people on your hall, how can you become a resource for them? Find your niche. Like, what is it that makes you tick within this? I mean, this is a broad field. I mean, you could do a whole lot in this field, but what is it that makes you tick? Mine was project-based learning, and how technology could create these cross-curricular experiences. And so I focused in on blended learning. That was my whole thing. But find your niche, find what makes you tick and what keeps you interested. And then follow that, follow your bliss, follow other educators who are doing that. Try things out, share it with people, find your little groups of people that you can geek out with, go to conferences, because that's where your people are. Like, the people who appreciate what you're doing, because your building may not, but you can find your people in these conferences that sort of fill your cup, so to speak. And then you can, try similar things that they're doing and listening to their process and their experience, so that you can learn from that. I do think that, to really focus on advocating for change, innovation, design thinking, and then also just being willing to kind of pave your own way. Being sort of self-reliant in a way. You kind of have to be. Not everybody's going to love it. Not everybody's going to understand where you're coming from, and you're going to get real excited about some things that nobody else is going to understand.
Right.
And so you've got to kind of find those avenues where you can express that, that's rewarding for you. And always remember that your focus is always sort of that equity of access. You know, where you're trying to find the right fit for each person that you're dealing with. Not that there's this one way everybody has to be, but that there's a right fit for each person as they access that thing that you're trying to teach them. So if you're starting to help people, really listen to them and figure out what's valuable to them, so then you can help them find the value in what you're doing. So that's kind of my takeaway.
Great. No,
Lesson of the day.
that's right. It seems overwhelming, but I think literally it's just the day to day, you know, putting fires out and doing what you can to help people, show people things. I mean, that's exciting. That's teaching, but a little bit more on steroids. So that's awesome.
For sure. Yeah.
Well, that's gonna wrap us up. I appreciate you, you know, telling me about your job and telling me about your experience. I appreciate you being my advisor, and I'm sure there'll be many more conversations. But I appreciate you sitting on this recording here today.
Absolutely. I'm honored to be here. I look forward to it.
Well, I'm going to shut down this recording. Thank you so much.
Okay. Absolutely. Thank you.